Okay, I have to say a huge thanks to you and that this podcast exists because of you. And the Mental Fitness Blueprint is the most personal thing I've ever created, so it felt right to offer it here first to all of you. The first 50 founding members will shape what this becomes. So if you want to be part of the first 50, details are in the show notes or at mchampagne.com. Who are you?
What a big question to kick us off, huh?
I know.
I mean, who am I? I think that's still a big question that I'm still trying to uncover myself in so many ways. So, not to get too deep from the jump, but
No,
um,
please
you
do.
know, but it's something that I think is a bigger question. I can of course answer it with some of the labels that I've given myself over the last decade plus, like a registered dietitian. Even I go as far as to say a longevity dietitian because my master's degree is in longevity, health span, and aging in nutrition specifically. One of the only longevity and nutrition programs in the world
Mm,
that has been developed by the one and only Dr. Walter Longo. So um, that's definitely one aspect of my world. I'm also an entrepreneur. I co-founded a nutrition tech company. I am now with El Nutra, one of the leaders in longevity nutrition, and I'm our VP, helping to bring this into new spaces. So trying
love
to
it.
bring some really cool novel nutrition technology that I'm sure we're going to touch on into some spaces that it hasn't been present before, like in the employer space, getting it covered by insurance, some really cool new areas so that everybody can finally have access to these incredible, truly life-saving solutions.
Yeah.
So those are kind of my
Those are the
my
labels. Let's
official labels.
where I definitely wanna go, go because you hinted towards it, and it's why I actually asked this question is let's go to the deeper aspect, like,
Yes.
as it because how we answer that question evolves usually over time, but there are some kind of
Yes.
through lines, but for you right now, where you're at in your life, like, I guess, what are those characteristics that really, feel like they defined who you are today?
Oh gosh, and you ask this at the most perfect time because 'cause I've been doing a lot of self-work, so I feel like
Mm,
I've been I feel like I've been unpacking a lot of these things. One of the biggest ones, and I'm gonna start with one that I would deem as, like, one of my most positive characteristics, is, that I am super outgoing, really social. I love talking to people, being around other human beings. I get energized by being around other people, whether in person or not. Like just sitting here talking to you, the energy
yeah,
that I get from this is just so impactful to me and really just empowering. So that is one big quality in who I am. Um, Other parts of myself that have, and this is something that I also have learned, both positive and negative. It's like there's a silver lining around all of these things. I am an A-type perfectionist person. I'm like almost OCD about everything being just the way that I want it. And I am incredibly ambitious and driven, but sometimes to a fault. And so those are things that I think like are absolutely me and parts of me that can sometimes get ahead of myself, like really wanting everything to be one specific way. Of course, that's kind of where this perfectionism piece comes into play and where you have to start to learn, okay, well, maybe it's not always going to be perfect, but can you live in the imperfect? Can you be okay in
yeah,
the imperfect? So I think that those are probably the
yeah.
big more deeper parts of who I am that are
Ha
definitely coming
has
out.
that all Totally. Has that always, like, the perfectionism piece, has that been a characteristic that's followed you for a while?
Oh, yes. In
Yeah? Okay.
fact, I just was so lucky for Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, let's
Yeah.
qualify it because us as Canadians, we celebrated in October. Um, but got to spend it with my parents and really just kind of chatted with them because yes, we as human beings, we evolve, we change, we grow. And it's really interesting to see like the through lines, like what has remained stable over time. And the best people to ask for that are the people that have known you since you've been born. And my parents and I thankfully had a chance to talk about that. And they were like, "Yes, Renee, like you have always been the planner, the organizer, the
Mhm.
leader, the person who took charge, even, when you were 3, 4, 5, like in your earliest days." So I've always been social. I've always been outgoing. So those are definitely these kind of innate characteristics. Now, does that mean that's not going to change? I actually don't know. I've seen so much of my personality and some of the things that I thought made me change over time. And as I continue to grow, I'm starting to see some of these things that I thought were like really important to me become a lot less important to me. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
those three things that I listed as kind of like my things are definitely they were present before
So
in
how
some capacity.
because I feel like a lot of people listening, and myself included, like, I think we can relate to some of the things that you shared, and especially relate to as we, go through life and grow older and so forth and just capture more or generate or gather, I guess you can say, more experience
Mhm.
in just life in general. We pick up on these characteristics, and it sounds like you're doing some work around, like, I don't know, are there versions of you that you're trying to refine or edit, especially when it comes to the perfectionism? Like, I kinda got a little hint of that when you were sharing, and I
Yeah.
guess knowing the audience here, like, what's been your process for that? In 'Cause I think that's
Woof.
helpful.
Yeah, no, the process has been, I mean, it's iterative for sure.
Yeah,
Right now, I am doing, as I mentioned, like, this is you are catching me in the deepest self-work time of my life, maybe.
yeah.
And so I have a lot of suggestions,
Sure.
things that have worked for me so far. But even so, as a very analytical, science-minded person, some of the things that help me are things like personality tests that kind of it's instead of trying to feel and figuring it all out yourself, like having a personality test kind of give you a first look, and then you can see what resonates and what doesn't, and
Mm,
then you're like, okay, wait a minute. So other people are like this too. It's
yeah,
not
it's
just
so
me.
helpful.
And so starting to unpack that, and then, also from there, not just taking the personality test, but then unpacking each component a little bit more and being like, okay, is this something that is serving me right now? What are the pros and cons of this characteristic of mine? Is this something that I want to maintain for my future? If I were to keep that, if if I were not going to change this, would I in 10 years from now be happy with who I am, or would I be where would I be? And so
Yeah,
asking that question in kind of all of these different aspects of what you start to learn about yourself then starts to qualify, okay, what are the biggest priorities in my life that I'm looking to evolve or adapt? And I don't even like to say like, it's not even necessarily, like, fully changing, it's just understanding how to work within
yeah,
this version of who you are. And as I mentioned, like, recognizing the pros and cons of those things that you might want to change. What are the things that are good about that quality of you? And really, like, trying to find ways that you can use that to your advantage. And then what are the not so good parts, and what are things that you can do to change those? And okay, this is not new by any means, but ChatGPT is incredible for these types of things,
oh,
like,
yeah,
just as
yeah,
a kickstart to be like, "Okay, this is what I've learned about myself," or even you can do all the personality tests on ChatGPT now. You give it more information than less because it can get a
mhm,
little off, but then asking it to kinda just, like, work through some of this stuff with you, give you suggestions and ideas, um, that has been also just huge, huge
well,
big
it's such
wins.
a big I mean, I've done the same. It's just such a great tool, and I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's funny because there's a lot of like, I think a lot of opinions out there right now, which
Mhm.
I try to see or try to take that as it's change, and we just as humans don't do super well with change, so people
Mhm.
are at different levels and so forth. And let's be honest, it's new and whatnot, but at the same time, I mean, like anything, if you approach it from more of a growth mindset and just pure curiosity,
Mhm.
like, I'm sure you can attest to this. I've only received positive, like, "Wow, I didn't know that," or "That's something to think about," kind of experiences that I'm like,
Yes.
I haven't seen a downside yet. Not to say that there aren't downsides, but like, you gotta put yourself out there and try it out and use the tools that we have
Use
access
the
to, right?
tools and
Yeah.
challenge them too. Like, use
Yeah.
them, but use them with a critical eye. I, ChatGPT has given me some pretty like, you should, make some very significant changes in your life based off of what you just told me. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that seems like quite
Yeah, yeah,
aggressive.
yeah.
Let me give you more information. And do you
Yeah.
still feel this way? And then it'll like kind of pull back and be like, okay, now that you've told me this, so don't I
Totally.
definitely everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. As you would, by the way, when you speak to a therapist in person, as you would
Exactly.
with science. Like God, for the world of nutrition is like a cesspool of misinformation. So like
Yeah.
as with anything, we really have to peel it apart and take what it from is serving you and let go of the stuff that doesn't. But that one last comment on this, which has also been something that I've really spent a lot of time with, is be honest with yourself. When
Mm.
something doesn't feel good, and if you have a visceral negative reaction towards something, don't just like close it and set it away. Like spend time with that and understand why it is so negative to you and why it's impacting you so deeply that you are trying to reject it. And there is a lot of learning in that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally. Totally. So
Yeah.
helpful. And we'll have to have you back on, soon because or once you're done your Hoffman process, because just for everyone listening, you were just accepted to go Hoffman Institute, and gosh, I can't wait to hear, like, kind of what that's all about because, like what I was sharing with you before we hit record, I've just heard probably, more than a handful of times of just other people, either shows I've listened to where their guests have been on and they share this wild experience and like, "Yeah, I was at the Hoffman Institute," and it's always the same thing. I'm like, What's the deal with this place? Like, it seems real legit." I mean, it's
I mean,
super exciting.
just the prep that I have had
Yeah,
to go through in order to get accepted
just to
and
apply, right?
into it, and,
Yeah.
the whole just pre-work process has been really intense, lots of time reflecting on yourself, lots of, time. It's like
Yeah.
hours. They say that you should set aside just for, like, 2 pre-work documents, 12 hours of time to kinda go through that and unpack a
Mhm.
lot of things. So just that, I mean, that is going to be, from what I understand, a very small fraction of what I'm about to dive into. So
Yeah.
they're talking like 12 hours of self-work with others, with one-on-one with yourself. So
Mhm.
I'm so excited and I would love to come back and share my experience.
Yeah. This might be a
Yeah.
good transition to a few topics that I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
with you, given your background and your expertise, and also for everyone listening, just for some context. I mean, Renee and I met through some mutual longevity projects. Uh, I've also tried prolong the 5-day fasting mimicking diet, which was, I mean, we'll definitely we can get into that later on, but it was really profound of an experience, and you were also just awesome, like on full on tech support if anything came up or email, and you were just so great too. Like it's not like you have all this abundance of time, like you have quite a big job, and like proactively we're set. I really appreciated you would send a message like, "Hey, you're probably maybe feeling like this right now," just like checking in and stuff like as a friend. It was really nice. So thank you for that first and foremost. But my question, as you think about going into the Hoffman process, which is a 5-day pretty intense experience like what you're saying, how how do you think about like preparing your body or even while you're there from a nutrition standpoint? Like do you think about that? Like what
Yes.
would give you the most energy or have you in the I guess the best mental and physical place so that you can get the most out of the actual experience as well?
For sure. Well, there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
I am going to do and that I also, funny enough, recommend to other people that are entering into retreats, whether
Mm.
it be something as more psychologically and therapy minded as Hoffman, or something that's just more of like this holistic, maybe yoga retreat. I have
Sure.
very similar recommendations when it comes to health and wellness around preparation. And one obvious one is going to be restrict or limit alcohol for at least 2 weeks before. But it also depends on how much you drink. If you
Yeah.
are, drinking quite frequently, it might extend that to even a month prior. But really just
Why is
letting
that, Renee? Is that just the body needs that much time to, like, kind of get rid of the toxins, or
Well, and also for your own, dependency. So it's also a
Oh,
mental thing, right? So,
yeah,
alcohol is, no matter what anybody tells you, it is an addiction. And even if you're just having, 1 glass a day, or even just like what we infrequently, like a couple times a week, and we all
yeah,
feel like we can do. If you think about doing like 6 months of no drinking and that seems like, how, "Oh my god, no." Or if you even
mhm,
think about 1 month of no drinking and that feels, again, "Ooh, no," I
yeah,
would consider that as a little yellow flag.
yeah,
And, and and by the way, this is me. I'm not sober. I drink occasionally, so, I'm part of the camp here. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh, but I do whenever, like, I gear up for something as intensive, you want your body to be clear. And the body can process alcohol, honestly, relatively quickly. It's actually slow in comparison to the other things that we consume, but,
mhm,
within about 24 hours or so, you can usually have most of that cleared out, hypothetically.
yeah,
But, there's just so much else like, you've given your liver, like, some stuff to work on, some stuff to
totally,
work through, and while you're drinking, your liver is just focused on detoxifying the alcohol that has gone through your body. It doesn't have time or energy for anything else that you're doing. So if you're also eating or doing other things at the same time, those are all getting, pushed to the side when you are drinking. It also, of course, impacts our sleep, and even one bad night of sleep can have lasting impacts. Now, of course, if you are drinking more frequently, it's just gonna have this, like, additional impact, and it's really, really bad for our sleep. So for that reason, alcohol, absolutely, that's one of the ones that I will be wiping out for at least 2 weeks prior, but I'm thinking, because 'cause I'm gonna be going at the end of January, I'll just do a sober Jan.
yeah,
Um,
perfect.
so so
And
yeah,
then what
so that's a
about
big
other areas, around nutrition, or
yes.
I mean, really
So,
anything, I don't wanna limit it, but
yeah, so there's 2 other big things that I'm gonna, well, 3. Um, the The big one is gonna be doing a 5-day fasting mimicking, or you can do, if you're a water-only faster, sure, go for it. I'm a big proponent of fasting mimicking. It's easier, it's safer, it's nutrition dense.
yeah,
So I prefer it, and your body will still go through all of this incredible enlightenment, and, that is a huge piece of that, and I think we'll probably be coming back to this
yeah, yeah,
because there's so much to talk about why this would be a great way to set you up. But the other 2 things, just because 'cause they're super quick and easy to touch on, hydration. So, a lot of hydration, electrolytes in my water, tons of hydration, during at least, again, the 2 weeks prior, and then a plant-based program. So, this,
mm,
like, if you think about, or you look at, like, kinda how some of these yogis and more wellness retreats, they're almost always going to be plant-based, and they oftentimes will take out a couple of other, really, um, like, strong flavors, things like garlic and onion and things like that too. I don't I personally am keeping those in.
okay,
But just going to a little bit more of this plant-based approach, is also just kind of nice on your system. It's very clean. It focuses on fruits and vegetables and fiber and all these wonderful things. It's not that one, I would say, is less critical, but that's something that I find is really, really helpful, just to kind of feel, again, a little bit lighter as you gear up for some of these really intense work, and it just, again, lets your body have just less work to do as you're gearing up to do a lot of work.
yeah, it's like, what the word that comes to mind, or the concept, I guess, as you're saying all this, it's like being proactive with your it's like energy management in a way,
Yeah.
internally,
Yeah.
right? Knowing that,
Yeah.
like, I guess what comes to mind is, like, you have this giant, like, steak dinner. I mean, that's really heavy on the digestive system and
Mm.
everything else and so forth, and knowing that you're going into, probably a mentally and somewhat probably spiritually kind of exhausting scenario on purpose, like, you wanna set yourself up to have, or to be in the best place possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. And not to get too nerdy sciency, but when we consume a lot of animal protein, our body will activate some pathways, primarily pathways that are specific to growth. And this makes sense because you eat high protein, your body's like, "Oh, there's enough protein here. We can build our muscles, we can grow, we can,"
Yeah,
that's literally this training that our body has learned over, all of the thousands and thousands of years that we've been around. Now, that is good when you're trying to build muscle and grow, but when we are looking to do cleanup and repair, we actually don't want to turn on those pathways because our body picks between two. They either pick grow when there's enough nutrients and protein to grow, or it picks repair and
mm,
rejuvenate and clean and detoxify. It picks one or the other. And as you gear up for something like a retreat, going
yeah,
into this repair, rejuvenation, cleanup mode is so beneficial.
yeah. I love that. I think even so, of course, there's retreats and events and so forth, which, make total sense, but even if, like, I think of things that we may, like, mentally wanna be working on even at home and just setting some intentions around, like, "I wanna get clear on this," or "I'm preparing for the new year to come," or, like, whatever it is, like, you set
Mhm.
your objective, but just, what you're doing for me is just, "Okay, well, what else can I do to just put my mind and body in an optimal state to surface insight or clear out what needs to be cleared out?" And, like, I'm thinking from the mind, but, like, this is the whole system now, and it just seems I mean,
Totally.
it's no shock, like, if I'm thinking, because I'm doing a bunch of research for my next book, and I'm like, "Oh, there's, like, these vision quests and so forth." I mean, there's always these fasting protocols for so many different cultures
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
spiritual practices. I'm like, it can't be a coincidence, like, and you're nailing, I think, the link.
Right, and let me just so when I talk about that, like, growth versus cleanup, and I called it out specifically for protein, but there are
Yeah.
also other nutrients that can really activate this growth pathway, and so when you go into a fasting mode, no there's none, right? There's no
Yeah.
nutrients that are activating this growth pathway, so you're automatically gonna go into this rejuvenation and cleanup piece, um, which one of if you fast or in my case, do fasting mimicking where you can have some food throughout
Yeah.
this period. Um, when you go through those experiences for at least 3 days, so it is a little bit of a longer period, but if you can get to that 3 day mark,
Mhm.
this really incredible cleanup process will be activated. And that's called autophagy, or what I like to think of as like a little vacuum cleaner for the inside of our cells.
Yeah.
And what it's doing is it's hunting down the things that are no longer working as well as they should be, that no longer serve that cellular environment, that are no longer working well. And it clears those out. It actually eats them. Autophagy literally means self eating. So it
Mm.
goes in and it eats up those little pieces and it gets rid of them. And I think what's really cool is that what that does is that it makes space for new, healthier cellular components to come in. And if you think about that whole process as it relates to the cell, and then you kind of come to, okay, now I am also trying to do all of this self work and I'm trying
Yeah.
to grow and improve. Like if your cells are doing this, you can too. Like I can go
Yeah.
find those things that aren't serving me well. I can find even things that, are maybe more emotionally impacting me or what have you. Um, whether it's within your personality, your soul, your spirit, whatever. Finding those things that don't serve you, consuming them. getting
Yeah.
rid of them and making space for something new that is going to serve you and do that job for you better. And so I think it's really cool to think about it from both of those lenses.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Okay, I can hear people saying like, "What's this fasting mimicking diet?" You guys have brought it up a couple times, and I have no idea what it is. So maybe just the most simple way you can describe what it is, and I'm happy to pepper in kind of my direct experience trying this out. But you do this day in and day out. So
Yeah.
why should we know and care about this style of
Yeah.
fast?
Okay, well, there's actually a lot of questions under there. I'm gonna start with what it is, and then I'm gonna
Yeah,
briefly touch on why you should care. But
yeah,
um, truly, we could talk for days about why you should care because there's a lot of reasons why you should
yeah,
care. But what is it? Okay, so in essence, fasting mimicking is the ability to get the benefits of water only fasting while consuming real food. And I'm not talking an electrolyte beverage. I'm not talking bone broth. In fact, I would tell you, please don't have bone broth. That
okay,
will absolutely kick you out of a fast. But um, it is going to give you things that are plant-based nutrition, real food. We're talking tons of vegetables, seeds, nuts, etc. You're consuming, but your
mhm,
body believes that you are in a water-only fasted state. It is going through all of this incredible repair and rejuvenation and cleanup, and we can go into some of the researches that we've seen here, but there are now nearly 50 clinical studies with fasting mimicking that have shown benefits across the board because our cells make up everything in our body. So it makes sense that when we
yeah,
work at this cellular level, it has a holistic impact. But we're talking, we have research now in, of course, biological age, skin health, weight loss, etc., but also autoimmune conditions, oncology,
yeah,
neurodegenerative conditions. I mean, the research is very wide reaching. And
totally.
again, kind of why I think, and I talk about it a lot, is because it really is so impactful.
Well, it just makes sense too, right? Like the research is so strong, but at the same time, I mean, you kind of zoom out and you're like, well, if you it, on the surface know kind of what's going on, if you're cleaning up the inside of your body and your cells and so forth, I mean, obviously, like, that's should have good results for especially things like cancers and stuff like
Yeah.
that, where it's like, that there's some wild things going on in the cells, and now you're cleaning that stuff up, and you're in that recovery, um, kind of mode. I mean, it just makes sense, like, intuitively, right?
Totally, exactly, and I'm glad that you feel that way because it certainly makes sense to me, and that's kind of what I try and impart to the rest of the world. This is so much more than weight loss. This is so much more than even, your biological age reversing. Like, there is so much going on because
Yeah,
we're doing the deepest work that can be done within your body, at least
yeah,
at the physical level, right? So, um,
yeah,
this is really, really, an incredible tool. Now let me say, importantly, that the vast majority of the research is on 5-day protocols, meaning that you would be eating, yes, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. You're still eating all of those 5 days, but you're eating very specific foods that do not kick you out of a fast during that 5-day period.
mhm,
Now, there are one-day, versions of fasting mimicking kits and diets. There are even ways to do it in intermittent daily fasting. So the fasting mimicking diet can be applied to many different types of fasting, but the ones that are the most impactful are these what we call prolonged fasts that are over that 3-day mark because
yeah,
that's when you turn on that autophagy and that deep cellular cleanup. So we want to hit that 3-day mark. And once we do, we can get some really great benefit. We want to live in that for about 2 more days, let it do the work. You don't start spring cleaning, open one drawer, take a few things out, and then close it. No, you spend the weekend going deep into all of the crevices and finding everything you can. And that's why it's important that we do these 5-day protocols. But there are ways to
totally.
make it simple.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so let me and maybe I should preface this. you personally or the company are not sponsors of the show or anything like that. So before about to say what I'm about to say, just having experienced it, like you guys really nailed I'll just call it, I come from the tech world, so, like, you nailed the user experience
Mhm.
in this beautiful box that shows up, 5 days worth of, like, open this box, everything's laid out, you've got like, it's just all of the guesswork is taken out of the equation, and for the most part, not all of the soups, I'm not gonna lie, but for the most part, everything's actually pretty damn good. Even like, obviously, you're not eating as much as normal, and it's probably not the regular kind of things that you're having, but to your point, like, it's not like you're having nothing, and
Right.
it's real food, there are real nutrients there, and I'm sure I'm not, this is probably something you hear all the time, but, like, every meal, especially after the probably day 2, just like, I'm so excited and grateful to eat some of these nutritious olives as an
Yes.
example, right?
Yeah.
Or those seaweed crackers are so good too. Um, but it's like there's more than just I guess what I'm rambling about, it's more than just the physical thing happening,
Mhm.
at least for me, and maybe I'm biased because of the work that I do, but there was so much in the mind going on. Of just even
So
after
much.
I finished it, like, just being really present and intentional at every meal and, like, slowing down my eating, and 'cause when I was on the fast, obviously, I'm like, "I don't wanna blow through my soup because this is, like, what I've got," like, so but just it's all of those side effects, I think, of going through something like that, that have a lot of benefit to I think, your life.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought this up because it's an under discussed benefit of it because it's so easy to call out all of the physical, noticeable, visual changes
Yeah,
that you see, but maybe the most impactful can be the behavior change because it can be really long lasting, and those behaviors that are
yeah.
changed can make other things that you do even after this 5 days very impactful, and in fact, this has even been studied. So,
Oh,
there
okay.
yeah, so, there have been surveys that have been done in individuals who have completed the 5-day fasting mimicking program, and they have said in I think the stat is over 80% of the individuals had a better relationship with food, less sugar cravings, um, just were more mindful about what
Yeah.
they ate and how they ate. And all of these things, of course, can be really beneficial for the way that you live and love food, outside of this experience, and it makes plenty of sense because when you're doing this 5-day, you're living, as we like to say, you're living in the box. You are
Yeah.
having these very specific things, and you're not going outside of that, so it should hypothetically make it really, really easy, but it's so interesting. Your mind starts being like, "Well, why can't I have this thing?" Or you start recognizing, "Man, I just walked to the kitchen like 4 times, even though I don't have to be here, like, why am and it's, like, so
Oh, yeah.
interesting to start catching your thought processes and because, you are keeping yourself to there's, like, about 5, blocks of meals.
Mhm.
You can't go run to food or run to substances to kind of fill this, like, space, and so you
Yeah.
get the time to think and connect with your body and listen to your body. So all of those things are really, really impactful, and one last thing that I wanna just mention, because this is a clinical published study that I think is so cool. It was just published this year in patients with type 2 diabetes that saw physically incredible benefits to doing the fasting mimicking diet. Once a month
Mm.
for about 6 to 12 months, depending on the person, they were able to reverse type 2 diabetes, like all this incredible stuff, right?
Yeah.
But why I bring this one up as it relates to behavior is because the individuals who did the fasting mimicking protocol increased their physical activity without ever being told to do so. In fact, the researchers don't. want to tell you to work out because they want to know that the benefits that you're seeing in this study are because of the nutrition that you're having, right? And
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
don't
makes sense.
tell you that. But self-initiated behavior change, they increase their physical activity by 6 hours a week. Now, what's really interesting is that the control group, they had everyday healthy nutrition. So they were given what we call the standard of care, meaning please go and have the Mediterranean diet, healthy nutrition, maybe limit your carbohydrates a little bit, right? So that's what that group gets told what to do. And that's still healthy, by the way. They still lost weight. They still saw some improvements, but not as impactful physically
Mhm.
as the fasting mimicking group. And when we looked at their physical activity, do you know what happened? They decreased their physical activity by about somewhere between 4 to 6 hours a week.
Really?
So
I would have
there's
thought it would
this,
have just stayed the same.
you would have thought, but let me tell you at least what the researchers think
Yeah.
happened. So there's absolutely everything that we just talked about as it relates to this behavior change. There's also with the fasting mimicking diet the fact that you lose weight, but you protect your muscles. So not only do you feel lighter, you feel stronger.
Mm,
And another piece is that because it's only 5 days, you do the 5 days, and then when you're done, you celebrate that you did it. You get your own little win, your own little victory, you celebrate yourself, and that just that celebration of self is incredibly motivating, and we see this in other areas of life and goal setting, etcetera, like, you wanna set yourself milestones so that you can celebrate them, and that will motivate you to keep going. And
totally.
with everyday nutrition change, and by the way, I'm a registered dietitian. I am not saying don't do everyday nutrition change. I am a big fan of everyday nutrition change, but it's not for everybody and it's not for everybody right now, right? Sometimes we just need a kickstart. That's why I love this, right? Um, and then the last part is that because it's also only 5 days, that leaves 25 other days in the months where you can start getting creative. What else can I do while I'm sitting around waiting for my next fasting mimicking kit? Like I would like I feel good, I feel light, I feel ready to rock. What can I do? And
Mm,
then you get creative. Well, maybe I wanna exercise, or maybe I wanna think about my sleep, or maybe I wanna eat healthier, some of the other things that I do, right? And so it's this time, it's this space that you are given to make other changes that can be really impactful as well, as opposed to everyday nutrition changes, especially big ones that we would be asking for from individuals with type 2 diabetes, where they probably have to make a lot of changes to their nutrition. That's exhausting. It is
yeah.
a lot of work to tell somebody, and I'm sure most people listening have tried some sort of diet out there, and like they only last so long for most of us because it is just exhausting and it doesn't feel like it fits into our life. And it's so much. And so if
Yeah.
you're doing that, you're not going to think about all the other things that you do. You're like, no, I'm doing this. This is a lot.
Well, I
So,
think that I was chatting with someone the other day who works in a similar space to me, but it's all around mental performance and so forth, and we actually spoke about just like physical fitness and like weight loss and all of that. And from the perspective of everyone knows what to do. It
yeah,
like it's not like it's this thing that's this uncertain like what do I do to lose weight and eat well and so forth? But it's like the hardest thing. Like
yeah.
like everyone hence why there's just like trillions of dollars that go kind of into this where
Mhm.
again like this is where I think on the 5-day fasting mimicking diet you take all the mental hurdles out of the scenario. Like, just open the box. That's all you
Yeah,
have to do. And then also, you have all of this other brain power that you can kind of redistribute to the rest of your day and whatever you're doing. And I have to say, I've noticed the contrast around because I've been experimenting with doing 24-hour fasts on Mondays,
yep,
just basically going like dinner to dinner kind of thing.
yep.
And Renee, like, I feel like that's harder than the
Yes.
5-day fast. I and to your point, as soon as you mentioned, like, the fridge and finding like, my mind I'm not even really hungry, it's not even that, but, like, I just it's like my mind is taking over. It's like, you need to like eat lunch. Like, you
Yeah.
can't do this. Like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with you? It's so hard.
I have done the fasting mimicking 5-day version 15 times. I just actually got a for me to start this coming Sunday. I'm doing my 16th round and I'm excited. Okay. Let me tell you. And
Yeah.
I have only been able with water only fasting to get to 36 hours. That was the longest I've ever been able to do because I was just like, oh my God, this is excruciating. I hate it. And I mean, I
Yeah.
knew that
Yeah.
I could do fasting mimicking. So I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stick with this.
Totally.
So
Totally.
so yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's powerful. So, I mean, all to say, like, I don't wanna obviously make this sound like we're doing an infomercial here, but it is so, I mean, it's powerful. It's a really good product. It's research backed. I mean, I'm sure many of the people listening here would have heard Dr. Longo at one point on someone's podcast. He was kind of everywhere for
Yeah,
many years when this was first coming out. So it's just exciting that it's available, and I think it's available at a pretty reasonable price point as well to do this. I think that's a really
totally.
important point. And for anyone out there, I would just encourage, like, just try it out. I mean,
Try it.
see how you feel. It was pretty profound, and I'm excited to do my next one whenever that is. I feel like, so your last question on this sounds like what you guys are suggesting, or at least the research is suggesting, is you do it once a month. Is that is that
No.
or is it like once a quarter or
Yeah, you don't even have to do it once a month.
okay,
So the reason why it was done once a month in the individuals with type 2 diabetes is because we use it as an intervention to actually
okay,
put diabetes into remission. And we
yeah,
see that when we are trying to achieve a specific goal, it will be used monthly. And that could be for 4 months, it could be for 6 months, it
sure,
could be for however long you're going through chemotherapy, that it is used slightly differently when we use it
okay,
interventionally. But when we're using it for just general health and wellness, longevity, healthy aging, things like that, then we do it once a month for the first 3 months as kind of a kickstart. And then you just go quarterly moving forward. And in all
mm,
honesty, I never did the first 3 months back to back. I just went
yeah,
straight into quarterly, and that's totally cool too. But
yeah,
all of the studies do at least 3 months back to back. So if you wanna make sure that you're doing it perfectly, then I do recommend doing it monthly for the first 3 months and then going quarterly from there. For the rest of your life, you're good. You can just do it 3 to 4
yeah.
times a year. Um,
It's just a
so
great
so yeah,
reset, right?
great reset.
And look at
Oh,
the
man.
perfectionist Renee over here, not being perfect on the protocol. I can't believe it.
On the my
Un
my imperfect. I know.
Unbelievable.
I think
Uh,
I think it's because I was like, "You know what? I like" one thing that I am also really good at is listening to my body, and that comes from being a registered dietitian and,
yeah,
like,
well, your
spending a ton of
baseline's
time in
probably
that
pretty
world.
good,
I like to
right?
think so. I've
Yeah,
got plenty that I can do to be better,
of
but,
course.
yeah,
Yeah,
I try, I do my quarterly fasting mimicking diets. I'm good.
totally, totally. Love it. What Renee, what are some, I mean, we talked a lot about, of course, prep for what you're about to go through that I think, is so relevant and important for anyone for when it comes to the mind and so forth. Before we wrap, I'd love, though, to get some other mental fitness practices that have been helpful for you, like, any kind of non-negotiables that help slow your mind down, keep it clear, whether that's proactive or during high stress scenarios, like what's worked for you?
Oh gosh, so much actually. So I start every morning with a gratitude journal. By the way, I am not I am very like science minded, which by the way, funny enough, gratitude journaling is very science backed, but I
Yeah,
didn't really
fair.
think so when I started it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
was like,
there's some
whatever.
perceptions.
But man, did it make a difference. Holy
Yeah,
smokes. So 5 minutes a day, just three things that I am grateful for. I make them different every single day. Turns out I've been doing this for quite a long time. I haven't had to repeat something. And like just that in itself makes
that's
you
big.
very, very grateful. And especially as a perfectionist, as, somebody that's always striving for the next best thing, like being able to be grateful in the moment for what you have, for what is going on is so, so helpful. So
Yeah.
that's a big one for
Hold on,
sure.
just on that, because your
Yeah.
distinction around having different things every day is really, really important because it also trains your mind to find moments of gratitude throughout the day. Like, that's the mental fitness part as well, right?
That
And that's a big deal because most people were like, "Oh, my health, my family, my home," whatever it is. Like, again, those are all great things to be grateful for, but they come on to repeat pretty quick.
Oh gosh. So and it's funny because like now, like if somebody were to read my gratitude journal, they would be like, "Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
sure." But they're just like the littlest things. And it's true because now when I'm just out and about, just regular, whether I'm happy or sad or stressed or not, I am like, oh, that is something that I'm grateful for. Save that one in the bank.
Yeah,
Oh, and that's something, and you're thinking about it because now you're just in this habit of trying to look for these little
totally.
small new things that you're grateful for. So, like I got into my dentist with 24-hour notice yesterday in the
Yeah,
gratitude journal.
totally, you
Like
gotta celebrate that stuff, for
these
sure.
little things. So that's a huge one. The other one that I'm just gonna call out that is game changing and very hard to do because you have to get into a habit, but daily cardiovascular exercise.
Mm,
So whether it be a walk or a 45-minute hit workout, I don't care, but I try and get in some outside sun, air, and exercise.
yeah,
Um, so that has completely changed my
well, it's
being. Like
yeah, for
just the
sure.
way that I respond to things changes on a day where I get that in and versus the days that I don't.
Totally. Anytime you can, like, move and you could it's the fastest way to shift your mental state as well by some sort of movement, and then you layer on, like what you're saying, just the again, coming back to, like, foundational health principles, like you said, like getting real light and moving and air and so forth. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to overcomplicate this stuff, right?
No.
Just kinda go back to basics and
Yeah.
work it in a way that works best for you. So
Mhm. Yeah.
gosh, man, time went fast for this conversation. We totally geeked out on many awesome things. I hope everyone listening, or at least leaving with some a few key nuggets to try. Um, I suspect we'll have a part two at one point because it's the like we literally just scratched the surface on many of these topics. But Renee,
So,
thank
so
you, thank you
thank you so
for what you
much. Truly.
do. Yeah,
Such a pleasure. As I mentioned, this like energizes me. It brings me so much life. And I'm so grateful that grateful here we are again, bringing it
yeah.
all full circle.